All right, this is my mother. Will you state your name?
Maria Lopez.
I mean, there's more to that, but there's just
Maria Francine Elizabeth Weidler Coakley Lopez.
All right. So this interview is about secrets and about things that you haven't told your own children. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So have you ever kept a secret from your children?
Sure. Santa Claus isn't real.
Okay. And like the Easter Bunny isn't real either.
Or the Tooth Fairy, for that matter.
No, but really, have you ever kept a big secret from your children?
Well, I can't say I've kept a secret intentionally, but I don't talk about everything that's ever happened in my past. So, I don't know if you call that a secret or just omissions.
Why don't you talk about your past?
Because it has no bearing on right now.
Is it okay if we talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. So, will you please explain to me why you're not afraid to die?
Oh, because a couple times I've faced death, so.
In what scenario?
Huh?
In like what scenario?
Well, like one time I was in a flood in Colorado, and me and your Aunt Kathy were actually in it, and there was a lot of people that died in that. And we knew, or I knew, I was panicked, knowing that we could be swept away or killed. And then I had another time later where I faced a death situation, and I can't say that, faced a death situation. It was that everything was so bad that it would have been better, anything would have been better than that, even dying. Not that I was ever suicidal, because I wouldn't take my own life, but living was too hard.
Will you please explain that whole situation with that?
Don't you already know it?
No. You told me you were going to tell me when the time is right. And I feel like now is the time.
Well, let's see. How old was I? I was young, stupid, dumb, like a lot of teenagers, thinking that my shit didn't stink, and was flirty and wild, and drew the attention of somebody who was not a good person, who then decided that they had to have me, and so they forced that, basically, trying to keep me as a prisoner. And they were violent and psychotic, and didn't allow, I was virtually a prisoner. And it just, during that time, basically came down to that it was that my soul was slowly dying. And that one way or another, it's kind of like the line in the Shawshank Redemption movie that either you get busy living or you get busy dying. And that doesn't mean that, you're suicidal, because like I said, it was a choice to live, but a choice to live facing death, basically. And that to grasp for that life, to live, you risked dying, and that was well worth the risk. And thought long and hard about that, and death was okay. Because living at that point was worse.
Were you living with him, or were you at home with Grandma?
I wasn't living with him, but I might as well have been, because every day I came out of school, he was sitting there waiting. Couldn't get away from him. Used a lot of threats and things to basically keep me under control and not telling anybody about him.
Do you think you would tell the three little ones whenever they have like a controlling boyfriend, girlfriend like that?
Well, hopefully they're never going to get to a point of having a controlling boyfriend or girlfriend like that.
Yeah.
But that's why with like Tori, with Giorgio, that I wasn't scared of that.
Tori and Giorgio used to be my babysitters when I was in elementary going into middle school. And so the whole situation with that crazy guy, is that the reason why you don't like to wear necklaces?
Yes.
And will you explain to the people why you do not like wearing necklaces?
Because I've been strangled.
Multiple times or just once?
2 times.
By who? The same guy or
Yeah,
different people?
Same guy.
Is there any other like big story secrets that you don't talk about?
Oh, I don't know.
Is there like is that the same feeling, your whole life and death thing? Is that the same way you felt with my father when you left him?
No, it wasn't quite that bad. Your dad at first, there were times that I choked because I saw, once or twice, that kind of psychotic look. I can't define it, but it's something behind the eyes and just knowing. But then it was the same in that, we're not going to live in this situation. And there's a certain strength that comes from it of when you're no longer afraid. That, most people, that's what they're afraid of, is death. And when you're not afraid, then you can make those hard decisions and you can be heroic or whatever. That you're going to force the issue, you're going to do what's right. And if you die in the process of doing that, well, okay, then that's just it.
So when did you realize that you realized that you couldn't take it anymore? Was it during the whole situation when you were young or with my dad?
Couldn't take what anymore?
Like, where you finally weren't afraid to do anything anymore?
Well, that was when I was younger. Now, with the situation later, it was a little bit different because there were children involved. And so I had to think about safety of children also. So it wasn't just me. It was more that I had to manipulate a situation and do things to where everybody was safe and protected.
So, my 4th hour English class was going to see this. Is there anything you would like to tell them? Any advice?
Oh, well, I don't know. There's all kinds of advice. One is
But any advice that's going with you, like with the whole direction of this interview?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. No, I mean, really, seriously. I just think that people have to be true to themselves, that they do get caught in situations to where, in this country, people are very violent. And people get caught in situations that they can't get out of, especially, in domestic things. And people who are involved in domestic violence situations, of course, leaving is the most dangerous time. But you can't stay in it because you're going to die regardless, you know. And it's either you make an attempt to live and get out of it, or you stay there and ultimately die too. So you got to reach out, you got to plan, you know what's around you, but then look for the warning signs. Now in my case, the things that I look at that I did wrong is that I don't know that I did anything wrong other than I was where I shouldn't have been. If I had gone to school and did what I was supposed to, I wouldn't have really encountered that person. I always wanted to say that if I wasn't flirty and stupid and doing stuff, that nothing would have happened. I wouldn't have drawn any attention. But that's not a life to be scared and droll and everything. All I can say is that fear is imprisoning. Fear is what keeps you imprisoned and keeps you from living. And, so much of that fear is, oh, I'm going to die or I'm going to get hurt. And you can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid to die. You can't be afraid to get hurt. You just have to do it. And if that happens, okay, that's fine. That was meant to happen.
All right, so some of the things that you said were very powerful, and hopefully the kids in my 4th hour will sit and listen and understand some of this, and hopefully they will have a connection with this. So thank you, Mommy.
All right.